All right. Good afternoon. Let's come to order and go on the record, please. I'm Charlotte Mitchell, the North Carolina Utilities Commission Chair, and joining me this afternoon by way of WebEx are the following commissioners. When I announce your name, please indicate your presence. Commissioner Brown-Bland.
Good afternoon.
Commissioner Gray.
Hello.
Commissioner Hughes.
Hello, I'm here.
And Commissioner McKissick.
Present.
All right, I now call for hearing docket numbers G9, sub 722, sub 781, and sub 786 in the matter of the application of Piedmont Natural Gas Company for an adjustment of rates, charges, and tariffs applicable to service in North Carolina. By various orders entered in this docket, the Commission has consolidated Piedmont's petition for consolidated construction and redelivery agreement with Duke Energy Carolinas and Piedmont's application for modification and approval of energy efficiency programs with this general rate case proceeding. Before we proceed further, and as is required by the State Government Ethics Act, I remind members of the Commission of our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and inquire at this time as to whether any member of the Commission has a known conflict of interest with respect to matters coming before us in this docket. All right, the record will reflect no conflicts have been identified, so we will proceed. On March 22nd, 2021, Piedmont filed an application with the Commission seeking authority to increase its rates, charges, and tariffs applicable to its service in North Carolina. Overall, Piedmont seeks a 10.4% increase in annual total revenues to recover its costs. Piedmont states that the increase is necessary primarily due to its investment of capital to expand its gas distribution system to better serve its current and its future customers and to comply with federal pipeline safety and integrity requirements. Along with its application, Piedmont filed the testimony of expert witnesses Bowman, Cousins, D'Ascendis, Minhorn, Newland, Powers, Weintraub, and Weisker. The Fayetteville Public Works Commission, the Carolina Utility Customers Association Incorporated, the Carolina Industrial Group for Fair Utility Rates 4, and Nucor Steel Hertford filed petitions to intervene in this proceeding, which have been granted by the Commission. The intervention and the participation of the public staff is recognized pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 62-15 and Commission Rule R1-19. The public staff is the consumer advocate and represents the using and consuming public. During the course of this general rate case proceeding, the public staff will conduct an audit of the data underlying the company's request and will make independent recommendations to the Commission regarding the company's request to increase its rates. On May 17, 2021, the Commission issued an order scheduling an investigation and hearings, establishing intervention and testimony due dates and discovery guidelines, and requiring the company to provide public notice. The order scheduled 2 remote public witness hearings to be held via WebEx on this date, as well as an expert witness hearing to begin on September 7th, 2021. The purpose of today's public hearing is to hear from Piedmont's customers regarding their concerns with Piedmont's pending requests or with the quality of the service that Piedmont provides. Before we move on, I'd like to discuss the procedures that will follow today for this hearing, and I urge each of the witnesses who plan to testify to listen carefully and abide by the procedures that I'm about to explain. First, public witnesses will be appearing by audio connection only. Commissioners and counsel will be appearing by video and audio connection. Any public witnesses that wish to view a live video of the proceeding may access it on their computers by way of YouTube, which is linked from the Commission's homepage. However, be sure to mute your computer when you're called upon to testify to avoid feedback and interference with our court reporters' ability to hear your testimony and transcribe the proceeding. Public witnesses will be called on to testify in the order that they have called in. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted by our WebEx administrator. You'll hear 2 beeps on your phone line indicating that you have been unmuted. At that time, I will ask the witness to state his or her name, and please state your response at that time. To ensure that this hearing runs as efficiently as possible, please pay close attention during the course of the hearing and be ready to respond as soon as you hear the beeps unmuting your phone line. Before testifying, witnesses must be given an affirmation, that they will testify truthfully. After you hear the beeps on your phone line and state your name, I will administer that oath to you. To ensure that all witnesses have an opportunity to speak, your opportunity to speak will be limited to 3 minutes. So please make your comments efficiently and within your allotted 3 minutes. Okay, with that, I think we're ready to begin. I'll call on counsel for the parties to announce their appearances for the record, beginning with the applicant. Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you, Chair Mitchell. This is Jim Jeffries. I'm with the law firm of McGuire Woods, and I'm appearing today on behalf of the applicant, Piedmont Natural Gas Company.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jeffries. All right, public staff.
Good afternoon, Elizabeth Culpepper with the public staff, appearing on behalf of the using and consuming public. Appearing with me is Megan Yost.
All right, good afternoon, Ms. Culpepper and Ms. Yost. Just abundance of caution. I don't see any other counsel on camera at this point, but counsel for any other parties making an appearance this afternoon. All right, I do not hear any. All right, before we begin, any preliminary matters from the company or the public staff?
None from Piedmont, Chair Mitchell.
None from the public staff.
All right, thank you both. All right, let's get started then. Mr. McCoy, would you please unmute the first witness?
My name is Robin Marsh.
All right, good afternoon, Ms. Marsh. Are you, I will administer the oath at this time.
Thank
you. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, Ms. Culpepper, you may proceed with your witness.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Robin Marsh, like the planet with 2 R's, and my address is 113 Ben Nevis Drive in Kernersville, North Carolina.
Are you a customer of Piedmont?
I am a Piedmont residential customer.
Do you have a statement you would like to make?
I do.
Please go ahead.
All right. Just wanted you to know, to date, I've been very pleased with my service with my Piedmont Gas connection. Upon receipt of the increase announcement, I did research. Based on the data provided from the North Carolina Utilities Commission, which is the first report I pulled up, the report dated June 28th, 21, it looks like the natural gas has a percentage of past due of 10.3% in their past due accounts. And it is based on all this information, an increase of 11.9 for residential customers in this post-COVID recovery period is not fiscally responsible. With unemployment fluctuating between 4.5 and 5.2, this is not the time to increase the burden on paying customers. And it's also going to increase the debt, the natural gas debt. The last comment I want to make, in addition, we're all aware of the new mandates for cleaner, carbon-free energy. An increase of this magnitude, I believe, will make the choice to stay or go electric much easier. Thank you very much for your time today.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mars. Before you hang up, would you let me check with counsel to see if there are questions for you? Questions from
Absolutely.
counsel?
Chair Mitchell, this is on behalf of Piedmont. We have no questions for Ms. Mars, and just thank her for taking the time to voice her opinion today.
Thank you.
Public
All right.
staff has no questions.
Okay, commissioners, questions from any of you? All right, Ms. Mars, no questions for you. Thank you, ma'am, for your time this afternoon and for making your comments to the commission.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. McCoy, please unmute the next caller.
Lawrence Drew.
All right, Mr. Drew, do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, Ms. Culpepper, you may proceed.
Please state your name and address.
Lawrence Drew, 232 Sardis Grove Lane, Matthews, North Carolina, 28105.
Are you a customer of Piedmont?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a statement you would like to make?
Yes, I do.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the commissioners and attorneys for holding this hearing and accepting my testimony. I'm here today to provide my argument to deny the rate increase and cost deferment proposal by Piedmont Natural Gas. I do not believe the company has provided adequate support and reasoning for this request. To my knowledge, I've read the testimonies and other filings submitted regarding the rate case filing, along with the others on the docket. First, I'd like to commend Piedmont on the admirable job keeping up with regulatory requirements and proactively improving safety and efficiency. As a monopolistic player in a heavily regulated industry, Piedmont has a responsibility to meet these regulations while also balancing the needs of its customers and its shareholders. On the subject of the rate increase, this is a pie-in-the-sky request. Piedmont suggests a seemingly arbitrary 10% increase and dreams that it gets that and assumes it will get at least 5% increase. In fact, Piedmont did just that in Tennessee and received half the initial request on February 17th this year, the day before they submitted the notice to the North Carolina Commission. Capital, safety, and efficiency investments are beneficial to all parties. They save the company money, they improve services for customers, and they mitigate risk to shareholders. There seems to be no reasonable analysis given for the level of rate increase, nor perhaps for any increase at all. The company indicates the action is to recoup capital expenditures and continued regulatory spending, but do all costs get pushed to consumers? And if so, for how long? From the company's financial point of view, passing costs to consumers is obviously great for shareholders. In fact, the company, parent company, Duke Energy, announced this past Monday, July 12th, a quarterly dividend of 98.5 cents per share, or about $750 million. That represents approximately 45% of the amount Piedmont seeks to recoup in just one quarter. This dividend represents a 2% increase from the last quarterly dividend, while simultaneously requesting more from customers. Shareholders should bear some of this burden as well. I think the lion's share. Regulatory requirements are not a surprise for shareholders, and management is making capital investment decisions that most benefit the company and its shareholders. The company has also documented its desire to increase long-term debt and will need to replace some higher cost debt in the coming years. Considering the current rate environment, I say there's probably no better time than the present. To the Commission, my suggestion is to deny this request and get a good plan from Piedmont that's transparent with reasonable cost sharing and have them make the first move by covering through dedicated long-term debt and equity action. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Drew. Questions for the witness from the company or from the public staff?
No questions from Rachel.
Okay.
No questions.
Questions from the commissioners? All right, Mr. Drew, we thank you for your participation this afternoon and your time with us today.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. McCoy, you may unmute the next witness.
Hello, this is Ron Stevenson.
All right, Mr. Stevenson, do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, Ms. Culpepper, you may proceed with your witness.
Please state your name and address.
Ronald Stevenson, 2565 Windbrook Drive, Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Are you a customer of Piedmont?
I am residential.
Did you submit an exhibit that you would like to be made a part of the record?
I did. I submitted a two-page, it's kind of an excerpt, one page coming from Duke Energy Section 10K Edgar database from last year's earnings, and then page 2 being one of the example of rate hikes that went on last year, kind of the difference in cost in just a standard home, single-family home like where I live.
Chair Mitchell, we request that the exhibit be identified as Ronald Stevenson Exhibit 1 and admitted into evidence.
All right, Ms. Culpepper, we will mark for identification the exhibit, which should be in front of all commissioners at this time. We will mark the exhibit as Stevenson Exhibit 1, and hearing no objection to your motion, Mr. Stevenson's exhibit will be admitted into evidence.
Thank you. Mr. Stevenson, do you have a statement you would like to make?
Yes, and I'll keep it brief. I think the previous, or the two previous witnesses kind of led into what I was going to mention, but it looks like, from a residential perspective, with COVID-19, it looks like Duke Energy, and I say Duke Energy because Piedmont Natural Gas is really a subsidiary, they're owned by Duke Energy, is basically they're trying to hedge their losses. So on the one hand, in the federal government, they're reporting on Section 10K, basically a loss of over $2 billion on the Appalachian pipeline. And at the same time, they're trying to recoup that by, increasing their cost to residential owners, which in our case, we kept our gas paid up to date, current. We use the, the equal payment plan. And I think it's arbitrarily affecting folks like my wife and I who, we pay our bills in earnest and we don't ask for any special, consideration, even with COVID-19, and how that's affected my business, whereas Duke Energy is turning, to the State Utility Commission and basically saying, hey, we're going to write this off. We're double dipping. We're going to write this off to the federal government. And then at the same time, raise rates to our, to our good paying customer base. And then like the gentleman before me, who mentioned that they're also paying dividends, and they're more worried about their share price. And I'll close this off with saying Duke Energy is much better than, the electric or utility providers from where I'm from, my home state in Florida. They're much better than FP&L, but they still have a long ways to come. And I think with COVID-19, I do agree with the previous witnesses that this is not a good time. And I think, it's not a justification for raising rates on both residential and even commercial customers, I should say. And I just thank you for your time, or thank you for the opportunity to present this to the commission.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Let me see if there are questions for you from council.
Chair Mitchell, Piedmont, I do actually have one question for Mr. Stevenson.
All right, Mr. Jeffries.
And before I ask it, I'd like to express our appreciation for Mr. Stevenson taking the time to testify today. But Mr. Stevenson, my question is this, would you be satisfied if the commission were to assure that the ACP costs that Duke had previously invested that you discussed were not recovered from residential customers, and that you didn't see any of those costs on your bills? Would you be satisfied with that?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a loaded question there. I mean, they're claiming that, they need to raise rates, at the same time they took an over $2 billion tax write-off to the federal government, in their financial statements. So it's a loaded question because in the end, it's a publicly traded company, so they can raise capital, unlike private companies, they can pull capital from the financial markets. And there's other efficiencies I'm sure that they can gain, by pressing their subcontractors and suppliers versus their good, their good paying customer base, both residential and commercial. And I understand they probably saw a lot of, folks and companies maybe not pay their bills during the COVID-19 period, but I don't see that really affecting a company the size of Duke Energy, which I believe the gentleman before me sort of referred to them as a monopolistic, and in a sense, they don't control the entire national market, but, no one's going to jump into the utilities business, unless they have really deep pockets. So it's very unlikely that Duke's going to have a competitor arise anytime soon in this market in the Mid-Atlantic.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. No further questions, Chair Mitchell.
All right, Ms. Culpepper, questions for the witness?
No questions.
Okay, commissioners, questions for the witness? Okay, Mr. Stevenson, thank you for your time with us this afternoon and for your testimony today.
Thank you as well.
All right, Mr. McCoy, let's call the next witness, please. Or unmute the next witness, I'm sorry.
Kim Nofsinger.
All right, Ms. Nofsinger. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Culpepper, you may proceed with your witness.
Please state your name and address.
Kimberly Nofsinger, 337 Tranquil Avenue, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28209.
Are you a customer of Piedmont?
Yes.
Do you have a statement you would like to make?
Yes.
Please proceed.
My statement's going to be short. Most of the other people mentioned our key issues, but when I first received the notification in the mail and I noticed the 11.9% residential service increase, I found it to be egregious and financially distressing, particularly in this post-pandemic economic environment. It was just very shocking to me. I noticed there wasn't a very good business case. It took a long time to try to figure out what was behind the 11.9% increase. And I would just say that that kind of increase should take place maybe over the next 5 to 6 years. But it does seem like the only beneficiaries of this type of increase would be the shareholders. And I don't know that your customers particularly reflect that demographic. And that's all I wanted to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nofsinger. Let me see if there are questions for you from council.
No
Mr.
questions.
Jeffrey?
No questions from Piedmont, Chair Mitchell.
No questions.
All right, commissioners, questions for the witness. All right, Ms. Nofsinger, there are no questions for you, so thank you very much for your time with us today and your testimony.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. McCoy, would you unmute the next witness, please?
Hello.
My
name is Nadia. Yes, ma'am. My name is Nadia Minniti.
All right, good afternoon, Ms. Minniti. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, Ms. Culpepper, you may proceed with your witness.
Please state your name and address.
Nadia Minniti, 16721 NC Highway 53 West in Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28312.
Are you a customer of Piedmont?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Do you have a statement you would like to make?
Yes, ma'am. I am a small restaurant owner, and I use, gas in my restaurant. I'm a customer of Piedmont, and even having a raise of 1 cent for our restaurant and a lot of small restaurants would be a death sentence. Small restaurants, especially startups, have not been able to qualify for a lot of the government help because it was only designed for, long-time established businesses. And so we are literally flying by the seam of our pants trying to stay afloat. And to have our rates raised by 10%, that will be an extra $20 a month. That's extra $20 a month that I don't have. And I'm not alone. A lot of small businesses are in the same situation. So I hope that instead of, looking at the pockets of the shareholders, that Piedmont will actually look at the community and be a good community partner and, not raise the rates, especially when there is no need whatsoever. And that's the end of my testimony.
All right, thank you, Ms. Minniti. Questions for the witness from the company?
I'd like to thank Ms. Minniti for testifying today, Chair Mitchell, but we have no questions for her.
Okay, Ms. Culpepper, questions for the witness?
No questions.
All right, questions from commissioners?
Chair Mitchell, I just have a brief question.
All right, Commissioner Hughes.
Just could you say again what your calculation was with the impact of this increase? Did you say it was going to be $20 a month, and was that the actual impact, or was that just an example of what the impact would be?
No, the actual impact, because if my bill is, $200 a month, then, 10% of that is $20, right?
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure I got the number right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
All right, Ms. Minniti, thank you very much for your testimony today and your time with us this afternoon.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, Mr. McCoy, next, unmute the next witness, please.
Hi there, this is Steve Hahn with AARP.
All right, Mr. Hahn, do you affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, Ms. Culpepper, the witness is yours.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Steve Hahn, and I live in Raleigh, North Carolina.
You're testifying on behalf of AARP, is that correct?
Yes, I am. So AARP represents 1.1 million North Carolinians, including many who are on fixed incomes and are struggling with their day-to-day living expenses. And AARP has long advocated for utility rates that are fair and reasonable, helping both meet our future energy needs as well as the needs of residential customers. We will be brief today, but we have several concerns with this proposal. The first, which we've heard a number of times today, is that we believe the increase is too large. That 12% increase is too large, and so we're urging the Commission to closely review company spending and trim any unnecessary spending to reduce the rate increase. We also feel that the increase is unfair, shifting most of the burden to residential customers. Residential customers would see an 11.9% increase, while large customers on interruptible rates would see only a 5.2% increase. And so we feel that residential customers should not be singled out. The integrity management rider is also an area of concern. AARP opposes single issue riders that fast track cost recovery and bypass traditional regulatory scrutiny. And we believe that such costs should be folded into base rates. The IMR recovers Piedmont's cost of compliance with federal pipeline safety requirements, and a rider isn't necessary for compliance. And so we're urging the Commission to end this rider. Also, we're looking at the rate of return, seeking a 10.25% rate of return, which is about a full percentage point higher than the national average. So we're urging the Commission to trim that request. And last but not least is a new rider for energy efficiency cost recovery. We feel that that's not needed, that we once again oppose the single issue rate making via riders, and energy efficiency spending should be treated as a capital asset where the utility earns a return, if it was treated as a capital asset where they earn a rate of return, they would drive up the cost of those programs. So utilities typically earn a return on assets and not spending, and so we're urging the Commission to reject that new rider. So we appreciate the opportunity to comment today, and if I'm here if you have any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hahn. Let me see if there are questions from council, beginning with Mr. Jeffries.
No questions from Piedmont.
All right, Ms. Culpepper.
No questions.
All right, any questions for the witness from commissioners? All right, Mr. Hahn, you're off the hook. Thank you very much, sir, for your testimony this afternoon and for being with us today.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. McCoy, would you unmute the next witness, please?
The next witness is Ms. Boger, connected outside of a phone, but through the computer, it appears that you may not have heard the double voice.
Okay.
Yes, hi, my name is Martha Boger.
All right, Ms. Boger. Let me see. All right, Ms. Boger, do you affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Culpepper, the witness is yours.
Please state your name and address.
Yes, Martha Boger, and I live at 5305 Kelly Street.
In what city?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Are you a customer of Piedmont?
Yes.
Do you have a statement you would like to make?
Yes, I do.
Please do so.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I really appreciate it, and I do want to say that I am pleased with the work that Piedmont has provided to me in the services, but as a concerned customer, I am speaking on behalf of the rate increase and how it should and how this shouldn't happen. I agree with Ms. Marsh and Mr. Drew's points stated earlier, and I have found their findings that are aligned with mine, and I don't think that I need to repeat some of them. But however, some of my points do include that Piedmont has not provided adequate data for customers to analyze the rationale of this rate increase. The company really should be responsible to provide data to the customers on what they're going to be using this $8 on average per customer bill, or $95 a year, on what they're going to be using this for. Are they going to be using it for, how much of that specifies into, capital expenditures, or, et cetera. We should know exactly how we divvy up that $8 on average. Piedmont also did not say anything about how they help savings within their own firm and their own company, if it's at Piedmont or at Duke, to help the customers in any way to alleviate some of the stress. We are still in a pandemic and employment rates are still high, and it would be very comforting to know if Piedmont did anything on their end to really help us and alleviate some of the rate increases. Another thing that I really wanted to point out is that Piedmont seems to be doing this on its own decisions and shareholder gain, and this really isn't in the control of the customers. We can't really go to any other gas company, and we're forced to pay these rates regardless. And so it's just really unfair to the consumers as a whole. I know ARP just briefly spoke about this, how the rate increase on residential customers of 11.9% increase is unfair due to the other larger customers only seeing a 5.2 increase. How is this really fair to the residential customers at this point? I'll leave that question for you guys to think about. And also, I did see the rate of return is also too high for Piedmont. So with that, I'll leave you guys with some of those thoughts to really think about.
All right, thank you, Ms. Boger. Let me see if there are questions for you from council, beginning with Mr. Jeffries.
We appreciate Ms. Boger's testimony today, Chair Mitchell, but we have no questions.
Okay, Ms. Culpepper.
Questions?
Okay. Questions from commissioners? All right, no questions from commissioners. So Ms. Boger, we have nothing further for you. Thank you, ma'am, for your time today and your testimony on these matters. All right, Mr. McCoy, would you please unmute the next witness?
Chair, that is it.
All right. Well, with that, we will
If I could interrupt real quick, Madam Chair, I'm sorry. We just had another caller come in, user number 8, John. I don't know if they've been identified and cross-referenced with the list. I did not have a chance.
All right, Mr. McCoy, let's unmute that caller, and we'll find out who he is or she is.
No, actually, that's Miss Boger.
Oh, that's Miss Boger. Okay.
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. So we have come to the conclusion of our hearing this afternoon. Thank you all again for your participation and your comments to us today. If there is nothing further from council, and I am not seeing council making any motion. All right, if there's nothing further, we will be adjourned for the afternoon. Let's go off the record, please. Thank you very much, everybody.